From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Nicholas Poitras, and this is your news at 12. Federal Innovation Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne has announced he secured commitments from Canada's biggest grocers to take measures to stabilize prices. He unveiled some of the first few steps after meeting with top CEOs who Ottawa gave until Thanksgiving to come back with plans.
Starting soon, Canadians will be able to see rollout of actions such as discount across a basket of food products, price freezes, and price matching campaigns, to name a few.
Ottawa's efforts to try and stabilize prices comes as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau grapples with how to respond to rising prices and economic anxieties millions are experiencing. The pandemic changed our lives in ways that are unimaginable. One of the biggest changes we still see to this day is the relationship between the parents, school, and students. Our reporter Chris Koo finds out more about this situation.
Reducing the curriculum for students seemed inevitable for many teachers at the start of the pandemic. Many reasons, such as mental health issues, online classes, and unexpected circumstances, all contributed to teachers teaching in survival mode. However, due to the fewer classes students needed to attend, parents became worried that their child will fall behind. Many of the tutoring centers reported they had a spike of students enrolling after a few months of the lockdown. The biggest shift said by the tutoring center was that some parents became more comfortable and prefer more online classes now than before the pandemic. Chris Koo, 1680 The Crow.
For more with this story, we are now joined by Chris. So Chris, what's the most significant change the tutoring center saw during the pandemic?
Yeah, so according to Marinas Basiri, who's the founder of Migrate Booster, people are now more open to online tutoring than in person. For example, elementary school students are offered 50% of online. 5% of high school students are taught online, which is all based on preferences. And since most schools have offered online courses such as Zoom from the start of the pandemic, parents are also how their children are being taught through tutoring.
And is there an increase on the number of students enrolled than before the pandemic?
Yeah, so during the start of the pandemic, there was a massive decrease in the number of students enrolled. However, not after a while, a huge spike of students were seen participating in tutoring. The founder of Migrate Booster says the cause of the spike may be due to parents worrying about their children falling behind due to the less curriculum taught in school during the beginning. Thank you, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's never meant to conflate those of advocating for parental rights with people who are filled with hate or intolerance. Justin Trudeau commented after saying on social media that Canada condemns this hate and its manifestations following protests over how LGBTQ+ materials are handled in schools.
We will always stand against hatred and intolerance wherever and from whoever it comes. But anyone who's trying to politicize or spin this as an attack on one particular group is trying to divide communities against each other.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and the Muslim Association of Canada called on Trudeau to apologize to people who showed up to protest because of their religious beliefs. 3 BC transportation companies are teaming up this weekend to encourage travelers to use public transit over the holiday weekend. Our reporter Madison Buckingham spoke with TransLink's Thor Dykov to learn more about the partnership.
TransLink and BC Transit are renewing their Thanksgiving weekend partnership with BC Ferries. Those traveling between the island and the mainland will have access to more routes between the ferries. All transit zones will also be reduced to a one-zone fare. TransLink's media representative Thor Dykov says that this weekend is the busiest for travel all year. BC Ferries is expected to have nearly 4,000 passengers over the holiday.
It's that time of year when there's a lot of university students, a lot of post-secondary students visiting family or friends, and it's one of the first times in the school year where they do have that chance for that long weekend to go home and reconnect with people, and that's where we kind of provide those connections when it comes to the transit agency.
BC Ferries will also be offering 70 additional sailings on the Schwartz Bay to Tsawwassen route. Madison Buckingham, 1680 The Crow.
Cities in British Columbia and Alberta have topped key categories of the 2023 list of the world's best travel spots as selected by the readers of award-winning travel magazine Condé Nast La Vallée.
Victoria has been named the 2023 world's best city, just ahead of San Sebastian, Spain, and Singapore. According to Condé Nast Traveller readers, BC's capital embraces adventure, draws outdoorsy types, and has a restaurant and nightlife scene that is something to be celebrated. Victoria also ranks third on the top 10 list of friendliest cities in the world, but Calgary and Edmonton are the victors there, with readers ranking them first and second. Quebec City is in fifth place. Condé Nast says its traveller magazine reaches more than 20 million print and web readers monthly and more than 40 million people on social media. Beth Layton, The Canadian Press.
A Russian rocket struck a village cafe this morning, killing at least 51 civilians in one of the deadliest attacks in the war in this month. Some 50 European leaders have gathered for a summit in Spain to stress their support for Ukraine.
The sign of support for the embattled country comes at a time when Western resolve appears to be somewhat weakened. As he arrived in Granada for the summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told reporters,
main challenge is what we have, that is to save unity in Europe.
The election of a pro-Russian candidate in Slovakia, combined with Hungary's resistance to fully back Ukraine, have cast an increasing shadow on Europe's commitment. Support from Europe has become all the more important after the US Congress left off billions in funding for Ukraine's war efforts that the White House had vigorously backed. I'm Karen Chemas.
An accountant who prepared Donald Trump's financial statements is back on the witness stand for a fourth day in the New York civil trial, examining whether the former president exaggerated his wealth. Trump himself didn't attend the proceedings Thursday, who had chosen to be at the previous three hearings. The business fraud trial stems from New York Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit alleging that Trump had his business ginned up financial statements that vastly overhauled Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, and other assets. Trump denies of any wrongdoing. The Nobel Prize in Literature has been awarded to Norwegian author Jon Fosse. The permanent secretary of the Swedish Academy announced the prize Thursday in Stockholm. The Academy says the prize is for Fosse's innovative plays and prowess, which gave voice to the unsayable. Fosse is a master of spare Nordic writing in a sprawling body of work ranging from plays to novels and children's books. One of his country's most performed dramatists, Fosse said he had cautiously prepared himself for a decade to receive the call. He's the author of 40 plays, as well as novels, short stories, children's books, and essays. And now on to sports. The Vancouver Whitecaps have clinched their sixth ever playoff spot last night. After defeating the first-seeded St. Louis SC 3-0, they are now far enough ahead of the ninth seed to sit comfortable in the playoff heading. The Whitecaps have two more games left this season, with their final regular season home game hosted against the Seattle Sounders on October 7th and the last game against LAFC on October 21st. A $1.2 billion deal to replace Calgary's aging Saddledome with a new National Hockey League arena could be finalized as early as this afternoon. The City of Calgary, Alberta Government, Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corp., and Calgary Stampede reached an agreement in principle late April. The price tag for the project includes an $800 million for the new arena, in addition to parking, transit improvements, a new community rink, and an enclosed plaza in the arena. Council's Event Center Committee is meeting this morning, and a news conference has been scheduled for later this afternoon at Calgary City Hall, with Premier Danielle Smith, Mayor Jyoti Gondek, and other officials. The Toronto Raptors are having their third of 5 practices in Burnaby today. Key role player Otto Porter Jr. will join the team for his first practice since going down with a dislocated toe and hamstring strains back in January. The Raptors are trying to have a cultural reset with a new coach, high draft pick, and plenty of valuable acquisitions made this summer. The team is prepping for their first preseason game against the Sacramento Kings at Rogers Arena Sunday. On for the collegiate level, the Thunderbirds have 2 events tonight. The women's basketball team is playing on the other side of the coast as they are set to play the Memorial University Seahawks in the Seahawks tournament. Game starts at 2:30 p.m. Men's soccer will continue their amazing play as they set to play the University of Victoria Vikes. Game starts at 5:30. For tomorrow, women's basketball is playing their second game against the Memorial University Seahawks, which starts at 2:30. Women's soccer will try to keep their home streak alive as they set to play the UNBC Timberwolves. Game starts at 5 p.m. Both men's and women's hockey is on the road playing against the University of Regina Cougars, with the men's game starting at 6 and the women's starting at 7. And on to the weather. Vancouver is clearing up today, and it's currently mostly cloudy at 14 degrees, but it will be clearing up to reach a high of 17. Going into the weekend, there won't be a cloud in sight, as Friday through Sunday will be clear skies with all 3 days reaching a high of 20. And that was your news at this half hour. I'm Nicholas Poitras, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. The help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
So you want me to sing a song? Oh.
Maybe like some of the healing.
Okay, so the bear song would probably be if you want a healing song, would be that. But I think you might want to move the mic away from me a little bit.
I'm gonna record it like this.
Yeah, because the drum gets really loud. I've never recorded before.
That was beautiful.
It was, and it was a good thing he let us know about the volume because we were really close. But hey, let's introduce ourselves first and this podcast.
Sure, I'm excited to share our journey. My name is Ugilos Ivanova.
My name is Sebastián Arancibia.
And this is a Heal Spirit podcast for 1680 The Crow. Today, for this episode, we interviewed two spirit individuals about their healing journey and how they take care of themselves and others.
Yes, so let's jump right into this topic. Two spirits. Did you know what this meant before doing this podcast? Full honesty.
Well, Sebastian, as a foreign student from Muslim country, Uzbekistan, I have never met or talked to two spirit people. While listening to two spirit people, it was a big shock to me to hear about their traumas and what they've been going through.
In my case, I have to admit that I thought I knew what it meant, but I was actually wrong. I had a misconception of the term, but we're all learning, yeah?
That's true. We are all learning. So let's meet our first guest who will share what it means to him to be a two-spirit person.
I'm Adrian Levesque. I use he, they pronouns. I'm the Indigenous Outreach Coordinator here at Community. My family is from the Opipinipiwin Cree Nation, so I'm a Nihinau Cree from Manitoba, out of South Indian Lake. So Two-Spirit was originally coined in the 90s at one of the gay and lesbian conferences in Manitoba. But from my own personal perspective as a Nihinau Cree, I was taught that two-spirit people see both ways. So like you have a male part of your spirit that sees one way and a female part of your spirit that sees another way. I've always attributed, so historically, two-spirit people were often mediators or in leadership roles. And I think that that's why, is because we have that strength of being able to see both sides and kind of bring people together and to bridge those gaps. The first person I met who was identifying as two-spirit was actually a trans sex worker on the downtown east side. So a lot of people know that there is an overrepresentation of Indigenous people on the downtown east side for multitude of different reasons. Their life was hard, it was just watching them trying to survive, and that is a very common experience among two-spirit individuals because if you're Indigenous, you can still turn to your community and sometimes they will do a really good job of being able to provide you with resources and assistance that you need. But when you're ostracized from that community and you're a queer person, there's even less resources for you to be able to access. Discovering my true self has been a very liberating experience, but definitely has come at a cost. And I would say that cost is acceptance and inclusion. I think, people, the minute you start identifying as a two-spirit or Indigenous person, people will start looking at you differently. Not everybody, but some people do.
That was a really good explanation. Thank you, Adrian, for sharing your journey with us.
Through this podcast, our guests really share their most vulnerable side.
And it is crucial to understand how different communities deal with different topics. I think what really fascinated me was the spiritual side of this term. So before we continue, we just want to add two things we learned while we were researching this topic.
Yes, so the first thing is the term two-spirit doesn't apply to all Indigenous communities or First Nations. Some communities might use another term in their own language. And also this name came about to replace an offensive word that was used among colonizers to describe Two-Spirit people.
Yes, and the second note we wanted to add it is that Two-Spirit not always equate to the term LGBTQ+, since some indigenous communities understand sexualities and gender that is completely different from our Western understanding.
And our second guest, Robert Hong, can explain us more about that and also about how he helps Two-Spirit youth in their journey of healing and breaking self-damaging cycles.
I'm a Citiboy, Chinese and French Canadian, right? I was born in Victoria. I'm an urban native, so I learned a lot of my culture here, but actually my heritage is prairie. My dad is Chinese and my mother's Métis, right? My dad's Philip Hong and my mom's Joan Hong, and I'm the chief of the Four Feather Society. Last summer we had put up a pride booth. And not just for Indigenous LGBT people, but all people came, and I was doing smudging everybody down, which is our role for the medicines. I could believe how many tears were there. How many tears were people coming and having a moment to cleanse themselves. But spiritual abuse is the big one for us. That is when you're told that you're not as worthy, that somehow you're a deviant, somehow that you're going to hell, that somehow that you're less than everybody else, somehow you're perverted, somehow you're defective, that goes to your core, and that's spiritual abuse, right? So, but my work, I'm a sweat lodge keeper, and I have a lodge in North Van.
When you're like part of ceremonies, do you wear a special regalia?
It all depends on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was doing the smudge downs at the Pride Day, I wore my ribbon shirt.
Are you comfortable showing?
Oh, okay. When I have feathers on me, it's a different kind of thing. Like this one here, it's very functional for just what I want to say, for speaking and doing other things that I need to do, right? Or with this, it's more ceremonial, so might be a drumming circle, things like that. And this is more my pride regalia, right? Where I might wear in the pride parade or something like that.
So, Rob, thank you. We really appreciate how many things he shared with us. He was the person who was playing the drum at the beginning, so now you finally know.
Yes, it was really important to learn from Robert how people, especially Two-Spirit people, heal. What are the rituals and processes and what they've been going through. And by the way, the drumming was beautiful and I was fascinated. And he has the most amazing voice I've ever heard.
We can learn more about the process and the rituals Two-Spirits go through in order to heal. So Adrian shared his top 3 ways to decompress.
For myself, personally, because I am Nihinau Cree, we smudge a lot of the time. So if we're feeling like we need to purify in whatever way, I also will attend Two-Spirit Sweat Lodge. So that's been a really, really great help as well, especially coming out of the pandemic. And kind of like reintegrating into community. It's been an amazing experience. And then one of the things that I do for myself is I like to go medicine picking. If I'm feeling like my balloon is about to burst, I will go for a walk and go pick sage or cedar or sweetgrass or something like that. Something that I can use in my own ceremony, in my own life, in my own morning ritual even. And so those are the 3 things that I do.
I just wanted to add to what we have heard from Adrian and Robert. When we were doing our research about this topic, we couldn't find data about the mental health of Two-Spirit people. And there is a reason, because there's still a conversation going on about how it will be the most culturally appropriate way to research and make surveys about it.
We're getting to the end of this episode, and we wanted to close with a message from our 2 guests. We asked them what advice would they give to the new generation of Two-Spirit people. Let's listen what they have to say.
Don't listen to what other people tell you you are. You will find out who you are on your own, and it's up to you to decide who you are and to make that journey. And everyone is going to have their own opinions, but your opinion is the only one that matters.
Just to know that the creator doesn't see you as a mistake, that he actually sees you as a purpose, right? To bring your gifts to the world. Become yourself. You know, be proud of who you are and who the creator's made you, because you are not a mistake. You know, and if anybody tells you any differently, that's their projection of their own self, their own thinking. You're not a mistake. You intended to be who you are. That you've got gifts to give. You have purpose.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today.
I'm Sebastián Arancibia.
And I'm Ugula Suranova, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
from the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
I'm Ogila Swanova, and you're listening to 12:30 p.m. news on 1680 The Crow. Federal Innovation Minister Francois Philippe Champagne says that Canadians can soon expect grocery chains to roll out campaigns to try and stabilize rising prices. He says measures will include discounts on certain food items. Champagne says these are just the first steps to tackle food inflation, which is driving up grocery prices. The announcement comes after he called for the CEOs Canadians' largest groceries to a meeting to tell them they needed to find ways to stabilize food prices.
These measures will bring a much-needed, more competitive marketplace, and the winners of that are obviously Canadians.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
from the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
I'm Angela Swanova, and you're listening to 12:30 p.m. news on 1680 The Crow. Federal Innovation Minister Francois Philippe Champagne says Canadians can soon expect grocery chains to roll out campaigns to try and stabilize rising prices. He says measures will include discounts on certain food items. Champagne says these are just the first steps to try to tackle food inflation, which is driving up grocery prices. The announcement comes after he called for the CEOs Canada's largest grocery to a meeting to tell them they need to find ways to stabilize food prices.
These measures will bring a much-needed, more competitive marketplace, and the winners of that are obviously Canadians.
3 BC transportation campaigns are teaming up this weekend to encourage travelers to use public transit over the holiday weekends. Our reporter Madison Buckingham spoke with the TransLinks for Thor Deco to learn more about the partnership.
TransLink and BC Transit are renewing their Thanksgiving weekend partnership with BC Ferries. Those traveling between the island and the mainland will have access to more routes between the ferries. All transit zones will also be reduced to a one-zone fare. TransLink's media representative Thor Diakau says that this weekend is the busiest for travel all year. BC Ferries is expected to have nearly 4,000 passengers over the holiday.
It's that time of year when there's a lot of university students, a lot of post-secondary students visiting family or friends, and it's one of the first times in the school year where they do have that chance for that long weekend to go home and reconnect with people, and that's where we kind of provide those connections when it comes to the transit agency.
BC Ferries will also be offering 70 additional sailings on the Schwartz Bay to Tsawwassen route. Madison Buckingham, 1680 The Crow.
A study by researchers at the UBC suggests people who are diabetes drugs used as Ozempic are at the greater risk of several gastrointestinal illnesses, including stomach paralysis. Lead author Mohit Saudi says about 1% of over 5,400 people randomly selected from a database of 60 non-diabetes patients in the U.S. were included, and relatively rare side effects could still sicken hundreds of thousands of people. The study is published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. A spokeswoman for the Canadian arm of Novo Nordisk, which makes Ozempic, says gastrointestinal issues associated with these types of drugs are well known, but people with certain pre-existing conditions shouldn't take them.
Maybe if they knew about some of these adverse events beforehand, maybe that their risk-benefit calculus may have changed, right? Obviously, someone who is taking this medication for diabetes, their risk-benefit calculation is going to be a bit different. But for someone who's using this specifically for weight loss, that may differ for them who may be otherwise healthy.
Angry Canadians take to social media after Aritzia launched an online archive sale early this morning. Our reporter Grace McLeod will detail the reasons behind the upset.
Aritzia Canada hosted an archive sale on their website that launched at midnight. The sale promised customers anywhere from 50 to 80% off of their previous collection. Canadians from all over waited patiently for the site to be up and running so they can jump on this major sale. However, many social media outlets were flooded with angry and defeated shoppers due to the site crashing only a half hour into the sale. Customers tried everything from refreshing the page and waiting patiently for it to start back up again. Some were able to get through and others were not as lucky. The anger and frustration towards Aritzia is still a heated discussion on social media. I'm Grace McLeod, 1680 The Crow.
An event at Mountain View Cemetery is returning to help people remember their loved ones. Our reporter Brooke Jensen finds out about new additions.
All Souls is set up for everyone of all cultures to celebrate and remember their past loved ones. One of the organizers, Paula Jardine, says they've learned about several cultures along the way and do everything to accommodate.
For many Indigenous cultures, going into a cemetery at night is not something that you would do, so we've adjusted to that as well. We've learned so much. And so now we have afternoon programming on the weekends, specifically Indigenous drumming and ceremony on the Saturday.
Everyone is welcome to the opening ceremony that will take place on October 25th and will run until November 1st. Brooke Jensen, 1680 The Crow.
Vancouver Island University is launching a program this month to train new Indigenous guardians in the province. It comes after an agreement between the universities and Nowak'la's Council comprising 6 First Nations whose traditional territories are located on northern Vancouver Island and neighboring areas along the mainland. The program is being supported by the provincial funding. Council President Della Smith says they need many more guardians as national take to increase responsibilities for environmental governance and management. This was your 12:30 p.m. news on 1680 The Crow. I'm Gloria Suanova. Thank you for listening.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.